How's it going, everyone? Get your boy Corey here, aka Crasher, bringing you guys a new and exciting video. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our next installment of our Pokemon Sword and Shield competitive guide / how to use videos. In this video, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be going over the final evolution of the Galar water starter known as Inteleon, and I just gotta say, I'm particularly excited about reviewing this Pokemon. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, hit that like button, hit the sub button if you want to be kept up to date with Pokemon videos like these, and let's go ahead and let's get started. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so real quick disclaimer, unfortunately Smogon does not have a page for Inteleon, so we have to make do with Bulbapedia's page, so here we go. What we have here for Inteleon is that it is going to be a pure water typing. We're going to get into its strengths and weaknesses shortly, but taking a look at its two abilities, the first ability that it gets is known as Torrent, which is a pretty standard ability among water type starter Pokemon. And what this ability does is it will boost the power of your water type attacks by 50% when you reach around a third of your health overall. And then we take a look at its hidden ability known as Sniper. It's a pretty cool ability, but I do feel like that in comparison to the other starter Pokemon's hidden abilities, this one is the least exciting. However, it is still pretty good on its own, and here's why. Because this is all based around critical hits. If you were to score a critical hit against the opponent, rather than it doing up to 150% damage from the critical hit boost, it would actually get boosted to 225%, which is actually really nice. And then moving on to the stats, we can see that it has Grenenija-like stats here. So we have ourselves base 70 on the HP, 85 on the attack, 65 in both the defense and special defense, base 125 special attack, and 120 on the speed, which is absolutely amazing. And then, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to its type effectiveness, because of the fact it is a pure water type, ladies and gentlemen, you are going to be resistant to the following typings, that being to steel, fire, water, and ice. However, do bear in mind you have two weaknesses, that being to grass and electric. Okay, so after that basic analysis, we can see clearly that it is meant to be a very speedy special attacker. In fact, out of all three of the Galar Pokemon starters, we have ourselves Inteleon being the fastest at base 120 speed, which is its second most prominent stat, whereas the first prominent stat happens to be its base 125 special attack, which means, ladies and gentlemen, that it is just going to be a very frail glass cannon that is going to hit ridiculously hard. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be heading our way to Pokemon Showdown, where I'm going to be giving you guys some set suggestions on how you can use Inteleon from a competitive standpoint. So with that being said, let's get to it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so kicking things off here, we have ourselves an all-out offensive choice spec set for Inteleon. Going over the item of choice being choice specs, as I just mentioned, it is going to lock you into the first attack that you utilize. However, you will have a 50% boost in the power of your special attacking moves. Do keep in mind that these items are very much interchangeable. If choice specs does not suit your fancy, then you could very well go for something like a choice scarf item, which is going to lock you into an attack. However, it will boost your speed stat by one stage. And then moving on to the ability of choice, unfortunately, the only ability that we're able to use is Torrent, as Sniper is currently its hidden ability that is locked at this current time. But Torrent is still a really good ability by itself, so do keep that in mind. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so the first move that we have in its moveset is going to be Hydro Pump, which is a base 110 power water type move with an 80% accuracy, so do keep in mind it has a chance to miss, but when it lands, especially with choice specs and possibly Torrent boosting it, ouch! It is going to hurt like hell. And then coming up next, we have ourselves Shadow Ball, which is a very nice move for Inteleon to have. It gives you some really nice, respectable ghost-type coverage with base 80 power, with a 20% chance to lower the opponent's special defense by one stage. And then coming up next, we have ourselves Ice Beam. It is almost mandatory to have this move on Inteleon, and here's why. It is, of course, base 90 power, and with a 10% chance to freeze, you do have a little bit of additional hacks on your side. But the main reason to use Hydro Pump, ladies and gentlemen, is to cover your Grass-type weaknesses, as Grass-type Pokemon are going to try to switch in to scare you out. But if you're packing a Choice Specs boosted Ice Beam, they are the ones that are going to be turned tail and running up in this. And then last but not least, guys, we have ourselves Air Slash, which is a pretty interesting move that Inteleon gets access to. However, do keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that it is a Flying-type move that also deals super effective damage to Grass-type attacks. However, the main reason we're packing this move on this set is because of its 30% chance to flinch the opponent, which is relatively high, I might add. So this right here could very, very much be a frustrating set for your opponents to face off against when you are utilizing Inteleon. Now, last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves its EV Spread and Nature. We are going to be going all out with a Timid Nature because you want to have as much natural speed as possible, as Choice Specs is going to be boosting your special attack. Now, if you want to, ladies and gentlemen, you can easily swap it to a Modest Nature, but do keep in mind that you do lose out on some crucial speed points, so I would recommend slapping on a Choice Scarf to remedy that. However, you do sacrifice some major power, but it is really up to you. Either way, Modest or Timid, those are the two best natures to suggest. And as for the EV Spread itself, we're going to be going all in with 252 EVs on the special attack and 252 on the speed, with 4 remaining in special defense. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, do keep in mind that these sets are very much interchangeable, and these are simply just some suggestions on how to run Inteleon. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so coming up next, we're going to be taking a little bit of a different approach here. This right here is going to be fully based on its physical attack, and with base 85 on the physical attack, it is pretty respectable, especially when you consider this one big thing into factor. So with that being said, the item of choice for a set like this, I would recommend the use of Life Orb, because it is going to boost the power of your attacks by 30% at the cost of 10% of your health. As for the ability, once again, we're going to be going with Torrent because that's the only ability that we can make use of at this point. Now, ladies and gentlemen, on to the moveset here, Swords Dance. It gets access to freaking Swords Dance here, guys, and that right there is what could potentially make a physically attacking set for Inteleon pretty viable here. This is going to boost the power of your attack stat by 2 stages. So that right there is something to keep in mind. The next move that we got is going to be Aqua Jet, because it is a pretty nice priority move to have, especially when you consider the fact that you could pick off weakened opponents. Now, next up, ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves Liquidation, which is a respectable base 85 power move with a 20% chance to lower the opponent's defense by 1 stage. And last but not least, guys, we have ourselves U-Turn. U-Turn is a respectable base 70 power bug type move that allows for you to switch out after you cause damage. So imagine setting up a Swords Dance and then having to U-Turn out. That is going to do some respectable damage to your opponent one way or another. And then, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to the stats. Now, we are going to be utilizing a Jolly Nature here, because this is going to be the point here where you have no other way of boosting your speed stats, so you want to have as much natural speed as possible with a Jolly Nature. And we have ourselves 252 EVs into the attack and 252 EVs into the speed, with 4 once again remaining going into the special defense. Now, there are other moves that it has access to, which I'll touch base on a little bit later on here in this video. Alright, so the next set that we got going on here, I pretty much am going to call this Grenenija 2.0, because Scarf Grenenija and Scarf Inteleon both are looking mighty fine right now. So, with that being said, going over the item of choice, as I just said, we are going to be utilizing a Choice Scarf here in this situation, as it does lock you into 1 move. However, it gives you a 50% boost in the speed. Once again, for the ability is going to be Torrent, and this is why we utilize Choice Scarf here on this set, ladies and gentlemen, is because of U-Turn. Well, one of the big reasons why is because of U-Turn, because this essentially allows for you to act as a really effective scout here in this situation. If you are in an unfavorable situation, you can just simply U-turn on out, and with Choice Scarf boosting your already immense speed stat, you're pretty much going to have no problem being able to get the outspeed on your opponent, unless you're something like Zacian or something and you're Scarfed or something like that. Then we can talk about problems. But coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be utilizing Scald. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. this Pokemon gets access to Scald, which has a respectable base 80 power in the move, and also the biggest selling point is its 30% chance to burn the target. Ouch! Now, if Scald is of any indication in the past, you know it is going to be a very, very good move even up until this point right here in Generation 8. Scald has always been one of those very, very frustrating moves that many of us competitive Pokemon battlers have experienced, myself included. So, coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves Ice Beam here. You want to have that good Ice-type coverage, and with Ice Beam being a respectable base 90 power, you are going to be dealing a lot of super effective damage to Pokemon that are weak against Ice-type moves. And last but not least, I decided to put in something like Shadow Ball here, because Shadow Ball is a pretty nice move to have, especially when you factor in it gets even more type coverage with Ghost-type offense here. Now, there are other options. If you don't like the idea of having a weak water-type move like Scald, and I say that very, very loosely because I think that base 80 power is nothing to scoff at all. If Scald is not something that you are good with using and you want to have more power, then you could use something like Hydro Pump if you want to have even more power packed up in that move right there. But I would prefer to go for Scald because not only is it perfect accuracy, but also you have a nifty 30% chance to burn your targets. Hydro Pump, on the other hand, has no additional effect and has an 80% accuracy, so you do the math right there, friends. So, coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the EV spread. Once again, we're going to be going with a timid nature here, as we don't exactly expect something like U-Turn to do a lot of damage, period, especially when you factor in the fact it's not stab, and there's no investment in your attack. But if it really truly bugs you to have a minus nature in your attack, then you could go for something like a naive nature, so that way you at least don't have minus attack, and you can go from there. But all in all, ladies and gentlemen, I think Timid is the best way to go, and we're going to be maximizing its special attack with 252 EVs in that, and 252 EVs in its 120 speed, with 4, once again, going into its special defense. So next up, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to point out some notable moves that Inteleon has access to that could very, very much be of use in competitive play. The first of which is known as Agility. Now, you're probably thinking, well, wait a second now, base 120 speed is already very good enough as it is. Why would we need something like Agility? Well, see, here's the thing, is that it raises the speed by 2 stages, and when you consider this move right here, known as Baton Pass, yeah, I'd say something like Agility is looking mighty fine right about now, friends, because what this does is it allows for you to switch out, and the Pokemon that switches in also gains the stat boost that you end up passing to it thanks to Baton Pass. So that right there is a combination to keep in mind as well. And you could also Baton Pass Swords Dance boost too, if you really wanted to. Now, next up, ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves its signature move known as Snipe Shot, with a base 80 power and a high critical hit ratio. Now, this move is severely outclassed by the likes of Hydro Pump and even Scald. However, when its hidden ability gets released, known as Sniper, then Snipe Shot could definitely be something worth considering in future movesets. And last but not least, guys, we have ourselves Sucker Punch here that Inteleon gains access to, which is a base 70 Dark-type move that is of priority. However, this only works if the opponent is going to be utilizing an attacking move. It will fail if they do not utilize an attacking move. And next up, ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves Light Screen and Reflect. So this Pokemon has access to dual screens here, which is pretty nifty. So we have ourselves a Light Screen that for 5 turns, or 8 if you factor in Light Clay boosting it, we have ourselves special attacks being reduced by 50%, which is crazy, crazy awesome. And Reflect does the same thing except for physical attacks, and also lasts 5 turns, however will last for 8 turns if you are holding a Light Clay. And we also have ourselves Ice Shard here, which is a really, really interesting move for Inteleon to have access to. It is a base 40 Ice-type move, which is priority, so that right there could be something to keep in mind if you want to go back to, say, using a physical attacking set and you don't like Aqua Jet. because of the fact that, you know, it's not providing you very much type coverage, especially with liquidation. Also being a water type attack, we can easily go for something like Ice Shard here, so that way you have a little bit of ice type coverage to keep in mind as well. But anyways, we also have ourselves Icicle Spear right here, which is a base 25 ice type attack that will hit 2 to 5 times in a row. So that right there could also be something to keep in mind for future use in Inteleon from a competitive standpoint. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so that's going to be a wrap up here for this competitive / how to use guide on Inteleon. If you guys did enjoy the video, you know what to do. Leave a like, subscribe, and most importantly, guys, smash it up in the comments down below, because I love hearing from you guys. Always have, always will. That ain't never going to change, baby. Woo! So thank you guys so much for watching. Have yourself a wonderful day or night, depending on your time zone, and I'll see you guys in the next one.